Hello, everybody.
Hello. Namaste. Radhe Radhe. Okay. How's everybody doing?
Today, how's everybody? Welcome to the Omhint experience number 2, where we're going to talk about today's astrological activity. Well, I hope that everybody's happy because we're out of Mars and Cancer, and we're into Mars and Leo, which is a lot better.
Okay, setting up
the live thing.
watch party.
Yeah. And so right now, the nakshatra is Jyeshta, and the Tithi is Dashami. So these are actually very powerful combinations. Now, Jyeshta is very intense. It's very strong. There's a lot of energy behind Jyeshta. Jyeshta is very good for getting things done. It's very powerful energy. They say it's not a good day to take things lightly, and it's a good day to accomplish things. And so that's the energy. It's a taking care of business kind of day. It's ruled over by Indra, who is the king of all the deities. And I put up a little article about what similarities he shares with Lord Shiva. Now, the thing is that some people think that Lord Indra and Lord Shiva actually share a parallelism, or maybe they have certain powers in connection. And I put some examples of that as well. And it's very interesting stuff if you see the similarities. Some people think it's a kind of combination, perhaps like maybe how there's Vishnu and Krishna, there's something similar between Shiva and Indra. And so this is one of the things that people talk about. So it was something interesting that I thought I would share. There's a lot of powerful energy with today. Dashami is good for starting things. We're finally in a time now within the end of the week by November 11th, according to
August 11th.
Sorry. By August 11th, I'm already in another time zone. See. By August 11th, Jupiter is going to stop being retrograde, and so things will be a lot better then as well. So we're starting
That'll
to have
be the first one.
That'll be the first one.
Then, well, not the first one because we just,
Mercury.
So the Mercury went direct. Mars is out of debilitation.
Yeah.
And when Jupiter goes direct, and then mid-September, Saturn will go direct. So for us people that have prominent things in Capricorn and
Aquarius
and Cancer,
right?
Because of the direct aspect. And Aquarius because it's ruled by Saturn. But it's more like what I was getting at was the fact that Saturn is going to be moving into Capricorn in the end of January.
Right.
So it seems like the relief period is between mid-September and January. So if you have anything important to do, take advantage because after that, it's gonna,
I don't even remember what I was doing when Saturn was over my rising sign. I don't think I was into astrology, so I can't even say.
It was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
No, not over your rising, over your moon.
Yeah, over my moon, I remember. But when Saturn was in Aries, because that's your rising sign and your sun too, right?
Yeah.
But when Saturn was in Virgo, it wasn't too bad for me. But I mean, it was kind of bad, but it wasn't. I didn't get sick, thankfully. But Saturn moving over your stuff it can be pretty intense. But that's why it's good having a team.
Cloudy.
That's why it's good to collaborate oh, good. That's why it's good to collaborate and have a team effort.
Yeah.
Because not everybody's transits are happening at the same time.
That's his way of saying is that even though you're gonna be slightly fucked, at least the rest of us won't be so.
Well,
but true. It's also what it's good for because obviously I'm not gonna die unless I die. But like the point is that I'm probably not gonna die, and it's good for something. And what is it going to be good for? Well, that's something that we can get into later. So today we got to talk about that later because that's a big thing. When Saturn moves, we've had 3 years of talking about Saturn and Sagittarius, and
So when
probably
Saturn, I'll be personally relieved, even though it's going to be a minor Saturn, what they call it, a baby Sadasati, when Saturn moves on opposition to your moon.
that's
I'm going to
something
be,
else, right?
yeah,
There's
yeah.
another name for it, but yeah,
It's basically what it is.
Similar kind of thing.
So I'm going to have a baby Sadasati. That's what I call it during that period too.
Uh-huh.
So it is a little bit because but the thing is
he just
that
wants to have a baby.
Yeah, well, see, the baby is in my mind. I got a mental baby.
That's what he means.
Well, Saturn brings more responsibilities. That's what they say.
Let's see what the hell I'm going to be responsible for. It's good because I've been kind of without as many responsibilities for the past going on 5 years now. So I'm down.
Yeah,
we'll
no.
see what it is. We'll see.
Well, I feel a lot more into being a responsible person, mostly because I guess this is the first time I'm going to address the people about my new name, or I guess I'll talk about it a little bit, right? So I decided to change my name to Hemachandra, mostly because a couple reasons. One reason is that according to the naming conventions in astrology, every single nakshatra has certain letters or vowels that you can name something. It's best to give the name with. And in my particular one, for my particular pada or section, or pada means foot, so there's 4 feet for every nakshatra. So I'm in the second pada of Pushya. So my sound was hey, or He, hey, something, hey.
Right.
So Hemachandra, that's Hema Chandra. So that means golden moon, or something, because the moon is also associated with love. It can mean golden love, or one who brings love in a golden form. This can mean a full moon. Hemachandra can mean a full moon. Hemachandra is also a name of Krishna. Hemachandrika is a name of Radharani. And Hemachandra is also a name for Lord Chaitanya. So that's very interesting stuff.
It's like the most direct one that we know of, because we call, Lord Chaitanya is the
hello,
the golden moon. Hey, Jocelyn.
How you
Thanks
doing?
for joining us.
Yeah.
So yeah, Hemachandra is the name for Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Yeah. So this is it's very interesting that worked out, and so I decided to change my name because also it fit more in line with the way that I want to start living my life, and I'm a little bit Jagannath. I'll be honest. I actually gave myself the name Jagannath when I was a small one, and the fact of the matter is that when I started calling myself Jagannath normally, I've kind of had this desire to do. Oh, she has a question.
Driving but listening. Yay!
Okay, thank you.
Woohoo!
So
that's what it is, girl. Go ahead.
So I had.
Go ahead.
Okay, I will. So I decided. So when I had the Jagannath thing going, there was a lot of fire in me, and I was very ambitious, but not so stable. And I really want to shift over to a more stable way. And all of these Pushya names seem so much more stable because the nakshatra I was born in is supposed to be that way. And this is the kind of steps that I want to take in my life, is to be a more stable person. And so this is kind of like a change in my life. And also I just entered Venus Mahadasha, or period. So I kind of am into that as well. So that's what's going on with me. And so I'm going to change. I'm for right now, it's my Facebook only, but I do plan on changing my name legally, and when the time's right, I'll explain that a little bit more as well. But that I got to work on a little bit. So the thing is that that's what's going on with me, and I'm just explaining to all the people, just so you know, I didn't get initiated or anything or something like that. I just decided that I wanted to change my name, and because I wanted to have a new purpose in life.
And it's also very timely that this like actual transition happened while the moon's in Scorpio. You know, over the last couple of days, Scorpio is the eighth house,
right,
where things die to be reborn.
Right, die to be reborn, and then moon and the Mars is going over my Cancer, which is also maybe was like another kind of death. You know,
right.
I've been doing a lot of. She can testify to you. I've been doing a lot of internal work and internal changes as a person, and
also nutritional and
supplements and stuff like that. And so I've been taking on new attitudes about stuff, and I feel like I had a rebirth in a sense.
It's never one thing that that makes a change. You know, it's like even with these remedies that we give and stuff like that. Really, for a change to happen, is the decision that you make to want to change, and then you see that you start eating differently. You start implementing some nutritional supplements or medicinal masalas or Shakti waters or both. You know, and by doing those things and then changing the name and taking the supplements that you've been taking and all this other stuff, like those are the things that and then the internal work. I mean, but that's where it's coming from. It's coming from the internal work.
The desire for something different, the desire for something new.
And then like all of a sudden you're taking these supplements, two things like that you knew about for years, but you were just like, oh, you know, whatever, like not thinking about it, not focusing on it. But now it's like, yeah, you know, this is the thing, you know.
Right.
And when did you enter Venus?
November 11th.
Excuse me. Okay, so
November 20th is when I entered Venus.
So November will be a year. So that's a lot to happen in this, you know, amount of time. It shows that you use your K2 time well, you know. It shows that you're coming out of it like pretty quickly from what I've seen, you know, like from what I've seen other people.
Well, I did about 400 fire sacrifices during my K2.
Yeah.
Which is not light.
Yeah, back in
the farming crazy days.
Farming, what is it called? You guys used to do smoke.
What would the well, we used to do.
I always forget the name of that.
Sweat lodges too.
Lodge.
Yeah, we used to do sweat lodges too, and do fire sacrifices, and yeah, I was living pretty. I'm trying to get back into a more regulated life.
You were like a hermit. I mean,
I was a hermit.
I recommend that stage of life or doing that full immersion to anybody who can manage it. You know, like as much as I, you know, kind of talk shit about Alachua or whatever, because I'm over that phase. But I've been mostly in Alachua for the last 12 years. I mean, I was really there for 8 years, but the last 4 I was still kind of back and forth. And you know, as kind of in a box as I was, like that definitely served a purpose for my life, you know. So if you ever have everybody, why don't you do it voluntarily? Because if you don't, it might happen to you.
Right.
You know, like as far as being in a stage of life where you're, you know, kind of isolated from people and you're like fully immersed in some kind of spiritual practice and around spiritual people, like it's a great experience. It's really like I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to do that. And I know like a lot of city people and stuff like that will never, like may never do it, you know what I mean? Or at least as far as, you know, it doesn't seem like it, or they haven't, or whatever, you know. So anyway, so that's that. So let's get on to Jyeshta. Unless there's anything else you want to say about that.
I think that's good. I mean, well, you know, one thing that I will say is doctor, take your own medicine, as they say.
Right.
And one interesting thing is that I started off by doing flowers at regulated times. That's one of the things that you can do.
Flower remedies.
Well, no. Giving flowers to deities on certain days.
Oh, that's right.
And I did that, and then things started to shift, and other things started happening. But it's the decision to make a change. You don't like what you have, and you start doing things, and that starts chain reactions. It's not per se the actual things that you're giving, but you're making a choice and you're putting your energy out there that this is what I'm doing to make a change. So it makes change happen.
Yeah.
That's the power of the idea. So Jyeshta is ruled by Mercury. So I'll just do that switch real quick.
Yeah.
Jyeshta is ruled by the planet Mercury. And so it's very interesting the connections between Mercury and Indra and Jyeshta. So there's reasons why things are. So Mercury was an unwanted child. Mercury, the planet Mercury, or Bud, it's called, that's why in Hindi and other Sanskrit-based languages, they call Wednesday Budwar, or day of Mercury.
So he's going to tell you the story of Mercury in the Hindu mythology.
Yeah.
The Hindu stories / history,
the Puranas,
the mythology.
Yeah, no, see, I like the word. I think, I'm going to try and bring myth back as a good word. People get scared of that word, but that's just because it has bad propaganda from the old days. Myth means just something you speak with your mouth.
It's okay.
Okay. So the thing is, these are ways of conveying things in this phenomenal universe, which we hardly understand, and it's a good way of conveying something. So the story goes like this, and if you understand astrology, it becomes very interesting. The moon stole the wife. Well, stealing is a bit of a, I don't want to go that far. He eloped or ran away with the wife. The moon god ran away with the wife of Jupiter. And they don't really like each other since. The wife of Jupiter is Tara. So he ran away with her. And she followed him, and they stayed together, and Jupiter found out about it, and he was mad, and he happens to be the guru for all the gods. So Indra and all the gods came, and so because, my enemy's enemy is my friend, the moon god joined up with the Asuras. So the moon god joined sides with the Asuras for a brief moment there, and they had a whole war. But eventually, because Lord Shiva feels some connection to Brihaspati, he decided to join on the Deva side, so all the Suras surrendered. And they managed to get Tara back. But when she showed up, she was pregnant. And so they had some discussion. Well, they asked her, who's the father? Is it Jupiter or is it the moon? So the thing is that she didn't want to speak because she was shy. So Lord Brahma told everybody to go, and then he talked to her in private. And
Venus.
Yeah.
Venus rules Taurus.
Venus rules Taurus. He's the guru for the Asura people.
And his anyway, Venus has to do with this one too, because his moon, Shukracharya, Venus. Shukracharya is the deity of Venus, and he has to do. His moon is in today's nakshatra.
See, I didn't even know that, but that was interesting knowledge.
Yeah, these guys, I learn a lot from the Pi team. Thank you, Pi team. Thank you, Arjun Pi and KRS and Eve and the rest of them. I learn a lot from you guys. I'm an auditory learner, so for me, YouTube videos are life. Thank you. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So Brahma was talking to her, and she revealed that the father was the moon god. So Buddha was born, and they called him Buddha because he was smart, and his head was shiny, and he was very intelligent. So he went out, but he carried a lot of this, I guess, guilt, for lack of better words. It wasn't that they imposed it on him, but he himself didn't feel good. He felt like an outcast because he was an illegitimate child. Mm-hmm. So he felt a lot like an outcast, and he decided that he just went out and did austerities so that he could have knowledge and gain respect by these by these people. And there's that stories. This is in Ramayana mostly. A lot of this stuff. It's in the Bhagavat Purana and in the Ramayana both.
So one of the
Oh no.
Like one of the inherent lessons in that is, so he had this, he was ridiculed as like a child or a young person because he was the illegitimate son, because he had this, tainted record. So by obtaining knowledge, who he was able to overcome that reputation because people respect knowledge. People respect. So this has a lot to do with Jyeshta. Indra is also kind of like, he's so powerful, but it's like he's always kind of like insecure of his position. There's always like this, like, that's just one of, in the
and
stories.
Also, yeah. Well, no, yeah. What it is he doesn't want to lose his kingdom. So what he does is oftentimes he'll send, if he sees that somebody's doing a lot of austerities, he'll send a beautiful girl to distract them. Or, yeah, he'll do like that.
This is Jyeshta.
This is Jyeshta. Yeah. He'll send a beautiful girl to distract them if they're...
Oh, okay. Nikhil's here.
Yeah.
Okay. We could just let him in. He'll sit down for a second.
Okay, maybe just wait a second.
Somebody came, but we'll keep on going for a few more minutes. We're recording. We'll for a few more minutes. But just sit down if you want to get water or anything from the kitchen or anything. Okay, cool. We're doing our update.
Okay.
So what else from Jyeshta? What are the points that we made?
And it's funny because Indra is also called an outcast sometimes, and like an outlier, And he has a very they call when he, according to the Rig Veda, when Vritra came and stole the kingdom. Varuna was the king of the universe before at first, and what happened was Vritra came and he stole all the wealth of the devas. And then he took it, he hid it all in this fortress. And because Varuna was a very wise king, but he wasn't strong. And so nobody could do anything. So what happened was they were like at a loss of what to do. So they were like praying or concentrating their energy, and the Indra came. And when he was first born, he was a baby, and he drank the nectar. They gave him the Omhint. That was the first thing that he drank. And then he drank milk. But then he grew extremely fast. The first thing that he ever did was, even when he was a baby, the first words and the first thing he did was he grabbed a weapon and he said, "Tell me who is good and who is evil and who I must destroy."
That's another thing that Jyeshta, they like to have a weapon. They like to hold something like a gun or a stick or something. It's one of the characteristics.
Yeah, when I have Mars in Jyeshta, and when I was growing up, I used to we used to make swords out of wood, and I would get all the kids in the neighborhood together, and we'd play at war.
Makes sense. It's not only Mars is his Lagnesh, so it's one of the most significant placements because it's the Lord of his ascendant. So it's not just like anybody having Mars there. It's like, so for him it's very central to his personality. Like second to, or like, right up there with Moon, Sun, Ascendant is the Lord of your rising, where it is. The nakshatra that it's in is very significant to your personality.
And I also happen to really like Indra, and so he's the deity of this thing, So it makes a lot of sense from a lot of perspectives.
Yeah, and then the other thing was Jyeshta people are good at focusing in on like one technique. Like this is with some kind of punch that Bruce Lee did. I forgot, but there's some move that Bruce Lee has. I forgot what it's called, but basically, there was a few examples. So even like an astrologer who has like prominent stuff in Jyeshta, they'll have like a way of doing things that works every time. Like you can catch them in any moment, whether they're like half asleep or whatever the case may be, and they have this thing that they can count on because they've narrowed it down to that. Or like in marketing, um, somebody that we know also has like, she's narrowed it down to, okay, this is how it is. This is how we do branding. So there's a lot of power in that amount of focus and that kind of focus. Oh, another one was Michael Jordan, his whatever slide or whatever it's called, but like he had this one move that he's known for, and this is the theme. Also, United States is potentially ruled by Giesta. Some people say it's in Sagittarius. Some people say it's Mula. You know, there's like a potential overlap there. This is like this section of the sky, even from like, anyway. There's different ideas as to whether they're exact, 13 degrees or whatever they are,
Right.
whatever it is, or if they're maybe different sizes, because really when we look at the stars that rule them, some of them are slightly outside of them.
Right.
So this is there, at the very beginning of Mula or at the very end of Jyeshta, you're going to see some overlapping qualities.
And Jyeshta and Mula are they're similar,
similar energy,
they're dealing with very similar, they have intensity levels in their personalities that's somewhat similar. You're dealing with a similar alchemy. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, it's like people who they do their own thing. They don't comply to the way things are supposed to be done. They have like this kind of like, oh, that's how you're doing it. Okay, well, I'm gonna do it like this. Like this kind of like, this is like a common thing that I've seen, especially when the moon is there.
And that's a good thing, actually.
It's very powerful.
That's a very powerful thing. Usually people with Jyeshta end up being if you have a list of the richest people in the world, the Jyeshtas are at the top.
There.
Because they don't just fit into the box. And the box is what traps people. Get out of the box. Run away from the box.
Yeah. Claire Nakti's video also on Jyeshta people in the media. Oh my God. So good. She also points out a lot of the people, and then you'll see the characteristics of Jyeshta too. And that's also like I like to share other people's work. I like to point out where I have Shravan rising and Sun and Shravan. So to me, the most natural thing is to be a student. To be learning. Like I'm always listening. I'm always learning. I'm always taking in information, and to for my own development, and also to share with y'all. Really. And I'm happy that this is the kind of thing that we're building here. It's a non-competition zone, as much as Jyeshta is
about competition.
About competition. We have other things that are more prominent. So, like his moon, Pushya, is less like that. Like it's not. It doesn't have that. So, like it's not. It doesn't have that sense of competition. My moon, not at all. Like I like to be in the I like to be in the arena of possibilities, so you're going to see like that's what I bring to the table as far as like.
Yeah, the thing is this is one thing I can say about Jyeshta or mentalities around that. And this is maybe a lesson that they need to be able to learn, put it that way, is, they can do a lot, but the stumbling block for them is they get so attached on something that if they don't get it, it can
destroy them.
Yeah. And it's like if a little detachment can make it so that they can focus on something else and accomplish so much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's something that's really important, because I noticed that with myself, and I'm just speaking from experience. I mean, I have Mars and Jyeshta,
right.
And for the first large portion of my life, Jyeshta, when
But
you
it
have
doesn't
Mars,
mature until 36, and you're
right?
37, right?
I'm 37,
Yeah,
so
so it's
exactly.
another thing that's perfect timing. It doesn't, just as don't see the good results until after 36 when Saturn matures because it's the eldest. So you got to be eldest before you can reap the benefits of this nakshatra.
Exactly. So I was born in 1982, and so we're getting close
You'll be 38.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's making something happen. So I have some realization, and really, that's very interesting that age you gave me, because that is when I finally learned to be detached.
Yeah.
Enough that I didn't get so absorbed, because I would want things, and then it didn't happen, and I would get in a rut, and I would just kind of like be sitting there, and I had worked on a farm, and I would just be sad, and it just tortured me. But then finally I was able to just kind of step back a little bit, and I was like, you know what? There's bigger fish to fry, as they say.
And this is also like, I'm just thinking about the Jyeshtas that I know, both rising and moon right now, and they have the same kind of, thing in their life where they have to work really hard, until a certain age. And the whole thing of it, the humbling experience also goes back to Indra, like where you have to like, okay, you want it so bad and everything like that, but like Indra's there to show us what happens when you want something so bad and you haven't thought it through and you haven't really sat with it and you haven't, like really asked your god or your goddess or whatever, like, is this the right thing? Give it time, like both things have its place because obviously GSs can accomplish things that other people can't, and it's because they have this natural drive, right? But on a spiritual path, we also want to like temper ourselves and know that, okay, maybe it's not, maybe let's wait, just Indra. Just if you look at Krishna book, if you watch Little Krishna, you'll learn all about Indra. Like Indra's story is right there. It's very easy to learn about Indra. And that also shows where it correlates to Shiva because Shiva is also playing this role for Krishna. He's playing this role of he's the one that gives benedictions to the demons. He's the one that he's like the scapegoat or whatever, he's like the he plays the role of like doing the ugly things that nobody else wants to do. I guess it's kind of like, well, now I just thought about Judas, kind of like, like where, like if you look at it from like a strictly bad or good point of view, like, oh no, they're no good, all three of them in a way, because they have to do with these darker things, lower things or whatever,
right,
but they're serving the highest purpose,
right,
because they're showing they're so humble. They have this humble position in front of Vishnu, Shiva, God. I mean Vishnu, Krishna, God. That they're actually allowing people to develop.
Right. Well, no. This is the thing: is that people might not associate this with Indra, but the fact of the matter is, especially for Shiva, but if you do some understanding, Shiva's there for people that can't go to Vishnu.
Right.
They're too embarrassed. He sits there in his Vaikuntha, and everything is, you have to be a pure devotee,
Paka.
and you have to be, everything's paka. You have to be a pure devotee and have pure love and all this stuff, and to get near Vishnu. And people, that can be scary.
Right.
That can be really scary for people.
Not everybody's ready for that.
Not everybody's ready for that. So what you have is, you have Shiva. He accepts everybody, and then look, you have Indra. Some people aren't ready to give up their desires. So they're in a karma path.
Go to Indra.
He's the king of karma.
Guess who Indra's going to? So just keep that
Exactly.
in mind.
He's the servant. He's doing his job, and so people that are on the karma path, they have somebody to go to, so they don't have to totally renounce everything. But it's a stepping stone.
Right.
And that's the whole reason,
really good point,
that both of these people function as stepping stones to higher truths. Or even, let's not even say higher, like, I don't want to downplay Shiva, but
to more sattvic.
Yes,
sattvic, which means clarity.
Yeah, to more sattvic truths, let's say. These people act as stepping stones.
Sattvic, sorry.
Yeah, and so they're ways of going to a bhakti path, there are ways of going to pure bhakti. Let's just say it that way.
Yeah.
There are ways of going to pure bhakti for people that aren't as functional. And let's face it, we're in Kali Yuga in a hellscape. So that's pretty much everybody. So these people are there to help us.
Yeah. Yeah. And just sattvic means mode of clarity, because they translate it usually as mode of goodness, but it's like a good or bad connotation then, like right or wrong, and that's not the point. The point is clarity. So sattvic is clarity, and passion is passion. That's pretty, rajas passion, and then sattvic is better than, again, ignorance has like a negative connotation. There's the mode of darkness. It's like just the darker side of life, which you shut off the lights and there it is. You know what I mean? Like it's not necessarily bad or good. It's just is what it is.
Exactly.
So
I think we covered a lot of deep philosophical points.
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
That was great.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. And we will be with you next time for episode 3. And we would love your feedback. And anything that you want us to cover in a future video, just let us know. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Radhe Radhe.
Bye-bye.
Radhe Radhe. Namaste.